Good afternoon. Welcome everybody. November safety meeting. On the agenda today, customer service results for the month of October. Accidents and claims for the month of October. The driver training will be assault awareness for today. And we'll go over the snow chains requirements. Just a few updates. For those of you that have been through the SMS training, this should be recognizable to you. This is the proactive hazard reports. In the 3 months that this has been running, I have received less than a dozen. Considering there's 150 operators plus maintenance plus utility, that is not nearly enough. Okay. We are here, this is a very proactive to try to get things corrected by the operators. An example would be like one was filled out where the trees were covering a sign at Meadowwood Mall. That was taken care of in 2 days. They're out there. The box for these is right here with the paperwork is underneath it. There's one also located at 4th Street and there's another one in the maintenance. I cannot do anything about the problems here if we don't get them in writing, okay? You can use these for anything, meaning if you're out on a route and there's a sign, as an example, the trees that are covered by the trees, turn it in, write it in. If you put your name on it, I can guarantee you this, you will get a response. Will it be timely? No. This takes time, okay? But you will get a response. These are logged into an electronic log that corporate can view, okay? So if there's time problems with, hold on a second, if there's time problems with your routes, if there's, we had somebody else turn in, power cords were hanging down in one of the offices. We got that rectified immediately. So as you know here, you can come in and complain to your other drivers, you can complain to dispatch, you can complain to road soup, but if it's not here, this is your best chance at getting it taken care of. So I need your support in this. From this goes to me, after me it goes to the safety committee, and every one of these will be addressed. Will it get fixed? I can't guarantee that. Because depending on what it is, we might have to go through RTC, might have to go through the city. You know, there's multiple cities involved on our routes. So not everything is going to be taken care of immediately. Some we may not, but at least you will know if you put your name on it, what we have done to try to rectify the problems. Okay? If you don't want to put your name on it, that's fine too. Okay? So I need your guys' support in this.
Could you use it for like a placement of a bus stop?
Absolutely. Those are the perfect things.
That number 2 bus stop right in front
Now,
of the
when you do this, I need to make sure that you put the right amount of data in there. Meaning if it's a route, let's say Route 12, inbound, terminal and mill, first inbound stop. Okay,
We'll talk about the number 2 in front of Evelyn Mount.
Okay, whatever it is, but be specific. Don't just say the Route 2 stop, you know, on terminal, or, you know, or the Route 12 spot on terminal is in the bad place. There's a whole lot of stops on terminal. So I need to know exactly what you're talking about. I don't need the digits of the numbers that are on the stop. Just give me a location, whether it's inbound or outbound. That is another way to identify stops. But that is done usually through RTC, NextBus, maintenance uses it a lot. I don't use them, but people do use them. Especially, now if I was to communicate about a stop to RTC, I would go find that number and send it to them so they knew exactly what stop it was. But I don't have that list, and I would prefer not to have to go through. If you give me that number, then I gotta go find out where the stop is. So, all right. Customer service results. Okay, These are the number of tickets. A ticket is every time somebody makes a complaint or a compliment, it is signed a 5 or 6 digit number. That's what she refers to as tickets, because they're all assigned a number. Okay? These are the tickets for the month. We had 78 this month. Last month was really good. It was 57, but still pretty much lower than the average. That is all positive. Okay, these are the valid complaints by reason. The thumbs up is for compliments. We had 3 this month. They usually average 2 to 3, but I've never seen more than 3 since I've been in the office. But as everybody, they would love to complain more than they love to compliment. It's kind of human nature. But what I do want you to draw your attention to is all those ones. Pat yourselves on the back for that one. That is really low. Okay? We have all those, it's only one. Only one late, only one bypass, only one off route, only one early, equipment, and refused boarding. Those are very good numbers. Would I like to see some zeros? I'd love to see some zeros. So keep working at it, but you guys are doing a good job. The only thing that I don't like on here is the driving. That is customers complaining about the drivers driving. Whether it's running a light, going too fast. Now this is valid, remember. And these are the ones that have been reviewed in video and found out the customer was right. Okay? So, 5 complaints about operators driving, and they all were valid. So watch what you're doing with the passengers, because you know, more often than not, the passenger is going to rat you out. And it shows right here. Okay? Alright, complaints by type. Valid is in red, unknown is in yellow, invalid is 13. It's really nice to see that we have so much orange up there. Those are invalid complaints.
13.
Yep, that we're considered invalid. Okay, so again, you have all the ones in red, which is what was on the last shot. So we have 3 no-shows. Those are considered valid. Now they could be considered valid when a bus was driver called off and the notification to the website was not sent out in a timely fashion. That would be considered valid. But that, again, that comes on dispatch. So no-shows are not all entirely your fault. I know we had 3 complaints. I need to find out who that third body is. Karen turns this stuff in for me, the PowerPoints. But Micah and Linda Dufier. So when you see these guys, or where they come, that congratulations to them. They got getting the
I've been
compliments.
pronouncing Linda's last name wrong for 3 years.
It's like buffet.
I thought it was Duffy. I thought it was Duffy.
Yeah. Dufier. So, all right, safety tips for winter. When you are parked at a bus stop with hazards on, please make sure your signal you are leaving, that you are leaving by using your blinker to return to the road. I've had 3 of these last month. What that means is, and I get why it's done, I have done the same thing. You're sitting at a stop. You're trying to coordinate closing the doors, turning off your hazards, turning on your left turn signal, moving out and moving forward. Make sure that you do not move out into traffic without turning your left turn signal on first. Somebody gave a good tip in one of these meetings. When he pulls into the stop, after he comes to a stop, he will put his foot on the left turn signal and flip on his hazards, and he will leave his foot there. So as soon as he shuts off the hazards,
Alright, the blinker's on. I do that.
yeah, as soon as he shuts off the hazards, the left turn signal will automatically come on.
Excuse me.
So,
Good afternoon.
yes, good afternoon. So I thought that was a really good tip. So if you want to try to use that one, that way you just don't want to move. And I know that at least one of these resulted in an accident. One of those 3. Because even though the other driver was at fault because he was behind her, whipped out to the left, moved to the right in front of her. Gotta remember, this is the holiday season. So people are gonna be driving erratically out there trying to get in and out of the malls. Okay, so the other driver was at fault, but the part of that was at fault with the driver is that she switched off her hazard, turns on her left turn signal, closed that door, and pulled forward before that left turn signal engaged. So she was already moving without warning the other traffic. So I get it, you do it all at once. Make sure you don't move and you look and that your turn signal is going so you can announce what you're doing to the traffic around you. Be cautious at the bus stops, when the turning lanes, when the route requires you to go straight. An example is the bus lanes, where it's a right turn only for everybody else, but it's a bus and you can keep going forward.
That's my favorite.
Okay, be leery. Other people, they're not thinking like a bus driver, okay? They don't even probably know that it's a bus only lane. Okay, so they're thinking that you're going to turn right, and you end up going forward.
Or the bus jumps.
Yeah, so you gotta be careful about that. Winter approaching, it is here. Dress warm in layers and drive safely based on conditions. Okay, this time of year, be aware of the conditions. Okay? Due to decreased visibility in daylight time or daylight savings time, slow down when passing bus stops as it's harder to see people. And yes, of course, they're always wearing dark colors. And, you know, a lot of good passengers will whip out their cell phone and shine that flashlight so you can see them, but we know a lot of people don't. So make sure that you slow down this time of year going by those stops to make sure you don't miss picking up any passengers. Any questions?
You're doing a great job.
Yeah, that was really good. All of that is
Okay.
true.
Let's move on to October accidents. Okay. The only highlight of my life about putting these things together is finding these little cartoons to put up there. Okay. This is our passengers when we have a hard break and they face plant. Okay. So, first of all, we had 9 accidents. 5 were non-preventable and hit by another vehicle. 4 were preventable. 2, we were hit by another vehicle. And 2 hitting fixed objects. I will tell you, last month is the first time you've heard me guys discuss AFR, accident frequency ratio. It's the number that we go by when presenting to RTC. It's a figure of how many accidents that we have. We have a threshold of 1.5 with RTC. We say that we're going to have a 1.5 AFR or below.
Is that an assumption or?
Huh?
Is that just like an assumption? Or?
No, it's a formula.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, I figured out that formula every month and I present it to RTC.
Okay.
So, last month was the first month since I've been in this position since February that we were below the 1.5. We were actually 0.41. That is not me, that is all you guys. Good job. Okay? I will say that we had a 13-day winning streak last month. Nice
And
job.
then that girl, she hit it. She really
Well, I kind of teased Stephanie in a way because she came to me and said, "Hey, do you know we haven't had an accident for so many days?" And I went, "Wrong," because I didn't believe her. It was like there was no way, no way. And she went back and she's, yeah. And I went back through the data and I went, "Oh my God!" And as soon as she did that, and we got that board up there that has the accident-free days on it, and she wrote on there 13. Guess what happened?
13.
We had an
Yeah,
accident.
and the girl that happened, I always say, I'm like, why'd you do that? You just ruined it for us.
Yeah, well, it didn't stop there. We've had several, so she wasn't the only one. But I congratulate you on the 13 days. So, I am shooting, and I know it's happened here since, I have been here. There have been months where we didn't have an accident.
We're shooting for 14 this month.
Somebody asked me can we lower that 30 days to like 2 weeks? I almost consider it, because if you guys can get through 2 weeks, I'm almost considering that pizza party. Because,
That's what we get?
yes, you get a pizza party.
I didn't know that.
Well, right now it's not 2 weeks.
Oh,
it is
damn.
30 days, accident-free, safe pizza party on the safety department. So that's where it's sitting right now.
And she just ruined
Can I
it.
get management to buy off in the 2 weeks? I have no idea. But,
I believe in you.
so. Now, everybody understands, even though we were hit by another vehicle where it can be preventable,
Is that still your fault?
yeah, that's preventable, yes, the driver could have done something about it.
Wait.
Okay, let me give you this example. Making a left turn across 2 lanes of traffic. Okay? Pull out, make that left turn, driver comes up the other way and hits the back end of the bus. Now, the driver was cited for speeding, because they were speeding.
I know what you're talking about.
What driver?
And when,
The
huh?
other
Which
car.
one? Oh, the other car.
The other vehicle 2. We are always vehicle 1. So vehicle 2 struck vehicle 1. Now, the problem with this is our driver made the left turn and pulled out in front of the other vehicle. So the driver was at fault, even though the other driver was cited for speeding, because they did pull out.
That's awful.
Because we
A lot-
couldn't beat it.
Yes.
A lot of people don't
Yes.
respect the.
Yeah, but what if they're
Transit
coming? What if they're
system.
coming around that corner at 80 miles an hour and then hit you?
Okay,
But you're already in almost there and they hit
okay. You have to remember, we have video on the bus,
you. Oh, okay, well.
okay?
fuck
All
that.
those are reviewed. And usually they're reviewed by more than one senior staff member. Okay? So, in this particular instance, the driver was able to see that the vehicle was speeding and coming up fast.
Tried to do it quick or something.
I am not saying anything. I am not pointing fingers to any driver. Okay? I am just giving you an example. This is a bar graph of what we just talked about. The preventables. We had 2 preventables. Hit fixed object. And we're gonna get into fixed object again. It's just about what we talk about every friggin' month. And here we go. These are year to date. That's actually kind of misleading. It is not year to date. It is from January 1st till now. Okay? Hit fixed objects. 35 times we have hit a fixed object. Fixed object is a bollard, which is the yellow poles. Garage, coming into the garage. This is company wide. This is not just operators. This is all includes maintenance, utility workers, it's everybody. Okay? Staff included. Any vehicle that we own that is involved in an accident is involved in this. Okay? 35 times we have hit the stationary object. That is completely unacceptable. It is completely within the operator's control, the driver's control. This is a big problem. Hit other vehicle, those 24 deemed as preventable. Hit other vehicle, a large part of those 24 is when you make a right-hand turn and hit a parked car, that is hit other vehicle. Even though that vehicle is stationary and it is parked, it is not considered a fixed object. A fixed object is something that doesn't move. Fence, telephone pole, bollard, side of the garage, that type of deal. The door for the roll-up on the garage. So, that is still a huge problem at this facility. Hit by other vehicle, there were only 2 that were preventable. We had 25. We had 27 total, 25 were not our fault. Okay, down to passenger injury, everything with passenger injury has stayed the same. It's the first 3 categories that has changed from last month. All right, by location, 20 in the yard, that is just this facility. Okay, 9 on the Route 2, that increased from last month. 11 on the Virginia line, that increased from last month. The Route 12, those 4 did not increase from last month, but what we realized before, those 4 were all down here at Terminal and Mill. And after an investigation of the risk, why they were all happening at Terminal Mill, every one of those was when the construction was going on. So you guys gotta make sure that you understand when you're out there and you get into construction zones. Or like the Virginia line, the majority of those lemon are at Midtown. Those are high risk areas, you have to be extra careful. Okay, you know that in Midtown that the road's narrow, you know that people are jumping out. Especially now it's gonna be into the holiday season. Things are gonna get really busy. Down at the malls, going down Virginia Street, you know? So,
I think construction sites need to work better on their signs and whatnot.
right, now, what I will tell you is if you go through an area that is too narrow, because you know these guys move this equipment and
Yes.
the poles and the signs, and they can get too close. What I do recommend, call it into dispatch. Make them aware of the exact location, whether you're inbound or outbound, and where it's at, and tell them the sign is over the line.
What are our supervisors doing though, like during that time while we're driving?
Well, they can be doing all kinds of things, honestly.
You guys don't like? Is there anybody that just like goes and inspects the routes and makes sure like?
That is the road shift, part of the road soup's job. Okay, but depending on what they're doing on what shift.
Yeah, and we only have one usually during the day, one or two during the day.
Right, but if in this particular instance, if a road soup, it can't get out there, then they'll get the MOD. Now, a lot of times they can go out and they can move these things themselves and back them off away from the lane. Other times there's an active construction crew, they'll go find the supervisor and say, hey, listen, that's a danger, can you pull that back away from the lane? Okay, I've seen it done over and over again. Okay? So we're gonna get into the time of day. Again, this is pretty much the same information as last month. We recognize that between 8 and 9, and then again starting down around 3 o'clock to what, about 1800. Rush hour traffic. Again, high hazard time of day. This is what you guys gotta realize while you're out there, to take the extra caution during those areas and times of day. Be on the lookout for other people. Okay, I made this easy on this one. This is the same facts from last month. The changes that happened during the month are what's highlighted in yellow. I made it easier for you guys to pick at. Okay, the big one that bothers me is 17 drivers had 2 accidents this year. 3 had 3. This shows a pattern. Okay, so if you are one of those drivers, be aware. Okay, you have to, there's something that you're doing wrong. Most of the time, what we've come to figure out, which is why we've been hammering mirror check station and your mirrors, is that it's a failure on the operator part. Either one, they don't know how to adjust the mirrors accurately, but they're not using them. You know, they're not doing the 6-hit bouncing around on the mirrors all the time.
So I'm gonna make a confession to you. To be honest, the day I had the incident with the mirror, so I don't know, I was like still just like 3-4 months into driving.
Mm-hmm.
So my mistake was actually it was that I kept rolling after I stopped at the stop.
Mm-hmm.
But reason why I kept rolling was because there was just a group of kids crossing the street, and I was like, I really didn't have no people on my bus, and I was about to just get on my lane, and there was so the light turned green, and a car was turning, and the kids ran across the street to catch the bus. So the car stopped and let the kids kind of jaywalk somewhat, and so I pulled back into the side of the curb, and then I was looking at the mirror, so then that's when I hit the pole.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah,
So
I kind of learned from that, so I have to
that's
not
the key
stop.
point.
Yeah.
Everybody is going to have an accident. It's not a matter of if, it's a matter of when. So if something like that happens to you, you did exactly the right thing. You went back through it, realized what you did wrong, learned from it.
Yes.
Okay? So, all the accidents last month, Monday, Tuesday, Thursday, Friday, and Saturday. High risk days. I can give you why. Monday and Tuesday. Last time it was Tuesday that was higher than Monday. And the industry is that a lot of people call off on Monday, so there's not as much traffic. Okay, so Tuesday was a high peak because everybody's coming in on Tuesday. So the same thing, Friday, everybody wants to get home, they're trying to get somewhere, and they're tired from the week and not really paying attention. Haven't figured out Saturday yet.
Coming home from a night party.
That could be. And we're talking about, when we analyze all this stuff, we're talking about risk. You're gonna hear that in safety management. For those of you also that haven't gone through the safety management training, be aware, make sure you start checking the boards, because we have 138 people that have yet to be trained. So, and that includes company-wide, that goes from the top down, all the way from the GM down through admin. Everybody's gonna be trained on SMS, because what do they always say? Safety is everybody's responsibility, not just your guys's. We as an operation, it's what we did, how did we fail? We've got some retraining going on, because in my opinion, the organization did not provide enough training for the operator. So we're trying to make up. This is what we're analyzing. This is called Just Culture. And you'll learn more of that in the SMS training. All right, at this point, we are going to watch a video on assault awareness.
In Module 2, we're going to look at using skills and strategies to prevent assaults. This is where the rubber hits the road, really. This is de-escalation skills, if you will. In this module, we will be discussing what operators can do to be as prepared as possible for preventing and/or reducing assault incidents. I just want to say in the front end, and I'm sure you're well aware of this, much more than I perhaps, that these are proven skills in terms of have shown to be effective, but there is no foolproof de-escalation. And, at some point, you have to decide if you're practicing the skills and strategies we're going to talk about, decide if they're working. And if they're not, and the situation is continuing to escalate, you're moving into the danger zone. And at that point, you're going to respond accordingly. Will these strategies prevent every assault? The answer is no. Not as much as someone can prepare. There will be situations that can't be prevented for many reasons. But what we're talking about here is, in this module, we're going to give you, quote unquote, a toolbox of techniques, a bag of tricks, if you will, to help reduce the tension surrounding an interaction. And so it'll be up to you to assess the interaction and select which skill or strategy best fits the interaction. By the way, I just want to make it clear, this course will not cover self-defense strategies, since self-defense is dependent on your own agency-specific policies. You are a professional. I cannot tell you how much respect I have for individuals who made a career being a bus operator or in bus operations. You've worked hard to get your license. You've taken, God knows, lots of training. And you probably have the right personality to do what you do on top of your technical skills and defensive driving and passenger assistance and other kinds of issues. So here's some points for you to consider as you project and as you maintain your professional manner, which I think is extremely important, I suspect, to each of you. First, your project knowledge. You're the first point of contact a passenger has with your agency when they get on that bus. So it's important for you to be familiar with agency policies and procedures and to know what is within your power to enforce and what is not within your power to enforce. And those are things that will be very helpful to you in knowing that as you try to de-escalate conflict. Your knowledge will help give you the information that a passenger in a way that doesn't create conflict, hopefully. And your goal is to give that information based on your knowledge in a way that lowers the risk of conflict in that communication. Showing confidence. I'm sure it's an important part of your pride, but showing confidence when you can appreciate your abilities and qualities is really important as you deal with passenger interaction. There's a big difference between confidence and arrogance, but you can show confidence, and should, in the way you handle the bus, negotiate traffic, and interact with passengers. And finally, as a professional, I know you know this extraordinarily well, or you couldn't possibly survive in the job you're in, but you've got to respect differences. You obviously can't act on stereotypical beliefs and assumptions. Sensitivity, tolerance, respect for others' differences play a key role in maintaining control of how effectively your interaction with others on a bus is going to be, as well as more broadly in life in general. So, I'm going to talk here a little in the next couple slides about responding versus reacting. If a passenger shows any warning signs of escalating behavior, it's going to require, or at least potentially going to require, a response from you, the bus operator. So passenger behavior usually drives this response that you are going to have to make. And you might end up feeling the freeze, fight, or flight reaction, especially when everyone's emotions are mixed in. The point is, it will be critical for you to resist the urge to fight. Whether you respond or react will make a difference in the outcome of the interaction. And fight is not going to get you where you need to go. So, respond versus react. What's the difference? Let's look at some differences here, and I'll try to explain their importance. Responding is a conscious action. Responding is when you are aware of your surroundings and the situation you're in, and you take all that into consideration. Reacting, on the other hand, is an unconscious action. It's when you are not aware of your surroundings. You're not thinking about that. You're not aware of your senses or your thoughts. You are just reacting. Reacting is going to lead you down a very rough road in potential conflict situations. What about thought out strategy versus random strategy? Responding means putting into place the actions you've already thought out, maybe not at that particular moment, but throughout the day or your career, but that you've already thought out. On the other hand, reacting means that you're going to do something that is random. It's not built on a thought out strategy. You're going to roll the dice and just do something. And when we react randomly, sometimes it'll work. Sometimes you hit the nail on the head, but more often than not, you may be ignoring a situation or ignoring factors within the situation that could be dangerous, to say the least. You can ignore a situation one day and you can get mad the next, but it's best to have a thought out strategy as you go into the situation itself. Being prepared versus unprepared. Responding, like everything else in life to some degree, requires preparation. So you can use the skills and strategy to solve the problems or defuse the situation. Reacting, on the other hand, is basically a sign of lack of preparation and lack of control. I'm just going to react. I'm just going to react to this situation. Maybe sometimes that'll work out. And you know what? Maybe the next time you do it, It doesn't work out at all because there is no planned action that you have prepared for. Emotions. In a response mode, emotions are kept under control because you are under control. In a reactive mode, both your emotional and physical state can get overexcited. And your mind won't think properly. And you just start doing stuff. And sometimes that stuff creates an environment of danger for you and others. We know you have to listen to a variety of excuses and explanations and have to deal with passenger behavior on a daily basis. And God knows that's a challenge. But it's what makes you good at your job that you can handle it. And you deserve, and don't get nearly as much, the congratulations every day on what you do. However, you're a human being. And you might get to the point where you just feel tired of taking it on the chin. And you're starting to feel, I'm going to fight back. I'm tired of taking this stuff. Resist that reaction, because it may lead you down a road you do not want to go down. As you become more tolerant of others and prevent yourself from overreacting, the better chance you have for diffusing any situation, avoiding more serious outcomes, and in fact, going home at the end of the day happy. So be careful of your response. And you should see on these slides that escalating level, confusion, frustration, blame, anger, hostility. Always when you're carving out responses, you want to keep that in mind. Of course, however, as a human being, you're not a robot. As a human being, you've got your own emotions, and you do, in fact, have to respond to situations. However, if your hot buttons have been pushed, if your emotions are running hot, it might cause you to over-respond to a situation. And over-responding to a situation has disaster potential written all over it. An example might be that a passenger boards the bus and frustrated because the card reader isn't accepting her card. It's probably the 20th time this has happened that day. You're tired of it, it's irritating to you. But if you respond with an angry or frustrated tone of voice, it could contribute to the passenger getting more emotional, getting more frustrated with you. On the other hand, if you respond using a calm tone of voice, you have the ability to keep the interaction on the lower level, lower end of the emotional range, because you don't want to move it up to anger and hostility. That's for sure. So, easy for me to sit here and say, y'all, stay cool, calm, and collected. I'm not out there in your seat every day. You are. But it is important for me, if I'm going to do my job here in this training, to at least talk about and make the argument for it. So what can you do about this? First, you can identify your hot buttons. There are many things that a passenger says or does that can be irritating. If you know what those hot buttons are, if you know your hot buttons, then you can begin to develop strategies to overcome your reactions if someone pushes those buttons. For your own sake, this isn't just good customer service, for your own sake, emotional and physical well-being, don't let the passenger's actions make you lose self-control if you possibly can help it. When a passenger irritates you or hits your hot buttons, don't take the bait. You're the one who benefits by that strategy. Don't take the bait. Practice positive self-talk strategies. Talk to yourself. Self-talk refers to the things we say to ourselves, our conscious and rational thoughts that we use to calm ourselves down and maintain self-control. Simply put, self-talk reminds us of how we should react and behave in a variety of situations. For example, remind yourself that it takes two to argue. Or say to yourself, I'm not going to sink to that level. Or how about saying to yourself, you know, I can be the adult in the room here and remain professional in the situation, even if they are not. Another example is to remind yourself, this person isn't upset with me. I can't take this personally. They're upset about the service being late. They're upset about the agency rules. They're upset about personal issues in their lives, and I can't take it personally myself. Remember, with self-talk, you're always reminding yourself how you should react in a situation, how you shouldn't react in a way that adds fuel to the fire, potentially escalates the situation that could result in a potential assault. Self-talk, you guys. Hey, let it go, man. Sometimes the best communication means not really communicating, especially if it means that you will avoid confrontation. A conflict with a difficult person often can be diffused if you choose to let it go. Keep in mind that avoidance of a situation is different from denial. Avoidance is different from denial. It's not the same thing. So what is avoidance? Avoidance is a calculated strategy for dealing with the irate or angry person. You've thought about the situation, and based on your experience, your perceptions, have decided not to take any actions because it'd be safer for you to let it go. Avoidance doesn't mean ignoring a person or a safety hazard. It means letting it go because there is nothing to be gained by focusing on it. Denial, however, means that you refuse to acknowledge that the situation even exists. And what can be the result of that? Your denial could actually make the situation worse. If I don't think it's going on, I'm not going to be, in some way or another responding to it, and it burns like a wildfire. Denial is different from avoidance. Avoidance is a thought-out strategy. So consciously avoiding a confrontation with an upset passenger is the thought-out strategy, where denial is a blind reaction. Now, I've got to say, and you've got to think, I'm sure, and know through experience, there are certain circumstances where avoidance will not be effective. Here's some guidelines for when to use and not to use avoidance in a situation. So when is it appropriate to use avoidance as a strategy? It's appropriate to avoid a confrontation when you feel that the issue is minor or inconsequential, and a further confrontation on that issue would result in an escalation of the situation. In other words, you're making a calculated decision that this issue isn't big enough for me to begin addressing, so I'm going to let it go, and I'm going to avoid addressing it in a confrontational way. However, sometimes it's not appropriate to avoid a situation. You should not use avoidance when the issue is important, when the issue needs to be addressed, when there are time constraints involved, when there's a potential for conflict to quickly escalate, when the difficult person continues to force the issue, or there is a policy violation. Examples include the customer trying to sneak a gas can on board the bus during rush hour, opening up a can of beer and drinking in the back of the bus. You can't avoid it. Safety rules and regulations never should be compromised, and you know that. Take a mental time out. Give yourself time to think about the situation. Say, give me a minute. I'll get you the information you need. Hey, I need a minute to think about how we can work this out. Take a mental time out, because especially if you feel yourself getting angry, you need to take a deep breath. Let the passenger know that you're working on a situation, but need a little time. It will also give you time to think more carefully on how to handle the situation you're faced with and to use the strategies you've learned in this training session. Body language, nonverbals. Let's kind of look at communication broadly and talk about how communication occurs. Talk about, spoken word, tone of voice, body language. Body language is a major part of how people communicate. Our key is to be aware of how nonverbal communication affects the interaction you have. Why? Because only 7% of communication is actually spoken words. Think about that. The words you say or somebody says to you is only 7% factor in the overall communication that's going on between the two of you. 38% of that communication is the tone of voice someone is using, how they say the words, loud, soft, sarcastically, afraid, whatever that tone of voice is. The other person is going to pick up on that in a much bigger way than the actual words themselves. And then, apart from spoken language, the tone of voice you use to say them, over half, 55% of communication is nonverbal. What you look like when you're communicating, your body language. Why is this important to know? Because passengers will be watching you and interpreting what you didn't say as well as what you did. The way you and your passengers look at each other, move, and hold your bodies can influence whether an issue will escalate or diffuse. And I'm not just talking here, y'all, about your body language, but it's about you being aware of the body language, the nonverbals of passengers who you may be having some concern about. So what the science of nonverbals include is body position can be open or closed. Open position involves keeping the body open. Generally, hands at your sides indicates friendliness and willingness by keeping it open. A closed posture, on the other hand, involves keeping the body hunched over, crossed arms or legs, and indicates hostility, unfriendliness. Gestures include how you move your hands, pointing, palms up, hands folded in lap, tightly fisted, head nodding, shaking, looking down, looking away, quizzical, etc. Feet can be crossed or tapping, moving up and down legs, and body, crossing arms or legs, hands on hips, hands clasped behind back, tapping fingers, fidgeting. These are all nonverbals that you need to be aware of in yourself and others, because that's how communication happens. Expressions convey your emotions, so keeping your emotions under control is essential, because you will express them nonverbally if you aren't able to keep them under control. I'm talking about like happiness, sadness, fear, surprise, anger, disgust, all those kinds of things. Okay. Check your tone of voice. This is stuff you know. And I understand that. I'm not, opening the sky for you here, but there's things that we often lose track of, that we forget. We get caught up in the moment, and we aren't thinking about those nonverbals. We aren't thinking about the tone of voice. If you take a step back and think about it, you get it. But when we get caught up in the moment, we often don't get it. And that's when we walk ourselves right into trouble. Tone of voice means how you say something, not what you say. Not the actual words, it's how you say it. You can raise and lower your voice to emphasize certain words or points. What we're concerned about is keep your voice relaxed and your level of emotion low. Keeping the tension out of your voice will help you sound gentle and pleasant, hopefully. Your body posture will help with this too. Keep your upper body, shoulders, neck, abdominal muscles relaxed, and that will change your voice, believe it or not. If you relax yourself, it's actually going to have an effect on your voice. And if you've ever done any meditation, it's not about this topic, obviously, but you know what it means to relax upper body, shoulders, neck, abdominal muscles. Adjust the volume. Part of your tone comes from how loud you talk. And there's times you got to talk loud because of road noise. Passengers talk on the bus, a lot of people talking, sounds on the bus. But be aware of how your volume affects the passenger. And remember, this is just, scientifically proven. Lowering your voice can actually cause the passenger to calm down and listen. Whereas a loud voice can place emphasis on the situation, and a combination of matching the loudness to that of the passenger and then moving to a softer tone can really help bring the conversation under control.
All right. My understanding is these slides have been cleared through maintenance. So, please do not pull into the gutters of the road during the snow. There's a high probability of getting stuck with or without chains. When you're down below the freezing mark.
And you drift.
Okay. Inclement weather. Please do not kneel your coach in the snow. It can start compacting under the coach and eventually cause damage to the floorboards, and I know about airbags. Now, it was also brought up to me that there's some conflicting instructions about this out in operations. I'll get a clarification on Mike and repost this out there.
Did you know you could pull your bus to the side of the road and actually park it, put the brake on, and have it slide over?
Absolutely. I am very familiar with that. Yep. So, as a reminder, when you do your snow chains, when you deploy and retract, make sure that you're doing 3 to 5 miles per hour. Do not exceed 25 while driving, as this can cause serious damage to the chains in the coach itself. Yes.
Are we going to start letting the trainers are we going to tell the trainers that they need to tell the new drivers about the chains?
Yes.
When it snows, they don't know how to do it.
This was not on the original training. It is now. I have all the documentation that we put together this month that will be implemented.
There was a new driver, she's like, I don't know about chains, what am I supposed to do? I'm like, well, good thing you do that.
And part of it is, I will tell you one of two things. Part of it is they could have been told about it. Okay? They are inundated with so much information, especially somebody that comes from a Class C, that I have heard the same things that I have documentation on. So,
The best thing to do.
and it's been summer weather, so they didn't have any practical experience. I could tell them today, and some winter doesn't come for 6 months, they're not gonna remember what I told them, because it can't be played. Okay?
Is to just stay home during the snow.
The best thing is for all of the drivers to quit,
Yeah.
so we can move on.
Move on.
and teach
There you
them
go.
how to
There you go.
do the
Yeah.
job.
So, Alright, this was Stephanie letting you guys that we were proud of you guys for the 13 days accident free. That is the pizza party.
30
Okay.
days?
30 days at this point, that is the standing. Okay? You guys are not on my list, I brought these in. I will tell you that we were aware that there was some data entry error. So if you feel that you should have gotten in a 1, 2, or 3 year safe driving award and did not, come in and see me and I will double check the data.
Where's mine?
So far, the mechanic's doing fine. It's operator only. I do think you guys should have some like reward, but not safe driving. But that needs to come from maintenance.
Safe mechanicing.
Whatever.
I've never wrecked a bus since I worked here.
Yes, but you don't put the mileage on it, these guys.
Last year, that's why I'm a driver.
Farm over there.
So,
I need to go.
you did not get one. How long have you been safe?
4 months.
2.5 years? Alright. So I will go back and I will double check the data for you. Okay? And correct that issue.
Need my employee number?
Nope. I know who you are. With that being said, thank you for you guys, what you do every day, because I retired from that a long time ago, and it'll take a ton of TNT to get my butt back out in a coach, or in a truck, or any of the above.
You know what I'd like to hear about this meeting? To be honest with you? It's you guys thinking us. We're not used to people thinking us all the time. We use like people bossing us all the time. Do this, you didn't do that, you didn't do it. Only flaws. But this time I keep putting out only good things and we should show. Thank you.
You're welcome. Alright, with that being said, now that he's gonna chop this video off, I will tell you the real nitty gritty. It took me 5 nights to watch that 2.5 hour video.
The one that we were just watching?
Yes.
He couldn't handle it. He just got
Because you didn't wanna watch it, or?
No, because it put me to sleep.
His voice is so monotone.
There's-
You're like this, you're like,
It was,
Well, until you went to 7-Eleven and got a beer.
no, I actually did updated some reports I needed to do. But the guy has a very nice baritone voice. As a radio announcer is all great. But you start talking about this stuff and it's in a monotone. He doesn't effectuate the going up and down. And it's the whole video is 2.5 hours long. So I had to watch the whole 2.5 hours to pick the most appropriate module that applied to you guys. It took me 5 nights at home. I take my computer home, I go eat, I start watching it, fall asleep. Second night, okay, I'm not eating. I was like, I'll do that first, then eat. Fell asleep. 5 nights. 5 nights it took me to get through it. So I can really empathize with what you're talking about. So thank you all. Have a nice night.